My name is Jenna Pilant, and I'm a style-crazed full-time creative living in sunny San Diego. In 2016, my husband and I purchased our forever home, and now, in between balancing my upholstery business, our 4 dogs, and just life in general, I'm going to renovate our home room by room, project by project myself, with some fun help from a few of my friends along the way. And I'm going to share it all with you right here on YouTube. So, are you ready to see a room bloom?
Whatever happened to seeing you last week, Jenna? Yes, I know, color lovers. If you're a fan of Room Bloom on YouTube and have been following along with that 70s sofa project, I know I let you down last week, not posting the final steps of this upholstery process. But Mother Nature was against me. Yepers, we had 94-mile-an-hour winds here in San Diego County, forcing SG&E to shut off our power not 1, but 2 times, including on my 36th birthday last week. It of course sucked, but what do you do when 2020 just insists on being true to 2020? She's a stubborn bee, that's for sure. Either way, like it or not, the Room Bloom episode I promised you last week is happening today. So here you go. Now, where was I? Oh yes. Last episode, I walked you through how to create custom cushions for the sofa. There was a lot of information jam-packed in there. And I hope it all made sense because today's episode is just as involved, if not more. This episode involves all the final details for this 70s circular beauty. It's sofas, back boxing, additional welting, and all the steps it takes to attach a furniture pieces outside back. Plus, you'll finally see why I picked out the colors that I did for this sofa's pop-in welting, if you remember last week's clue. It was Peter Max. Okay, to start wrapping up that 70s sofa project, we are going to attach the final section of boxing along the top of the sofa, the land between the inside and outside back, the lesser known of Bilbo Baggins' journeys. Nerd alert! Bad joke, which I have already attached onto one half of the sofa, so you can visually know what I'm talking about. For the final boxing, you will first attach the hunter green piping, welting, whichever term you choose, that you've already pre-sewn, stapling it into place along at the exact same measurement throughout. A template definitely makes this endeavor easier, lightly marking where the welting will lay with the chalk. The more you're a stickler for the details measurements, the better and snazzier your final upholstery project will be. Once the hunter green welt is stapled, time for the boxing, using a cardboard strip as well for reinforced structure and straightness. Next, spray glue the surface where the boxing will lay and attach a strip of Dacron polywrap. Again, those terms are interchangeable like piping and welting. Then you flip the boxing over the Dacron, firmly pulling down and stapling it into place. It's important to note that due to the curvature of the sofa's arm, I chose to do this final boxing in 2 strips and not 1. Just a call I decided to make as an experienced upholsterer. You learn a lot of what not to do in upholstery by doing upholstery. Finally, when all the sofa's back's boxing is attached, it's time to sew up and then attach that sky blue piping to the bottom of that boxing. Which brings us officially to the outside back, aka the most colorful portion of this project. Now this next step is a thorough step that I sadly see a lot of mass furniture companies skipping on their production lines. And if you don't believe me, next time you're in a Crate and Barrel, West Elm, whatever, honestly, I'm not trying to bash here, folks. Feel the outside back of one of their showroom floor models, and you'll be able to actually feel what I mean. I am sadly feeling more and more new furniture without proper reinforcements in their outside back, which makes the life expectancy of your furniture much less, unless it's sitting directly against a wall or something. So I'm going to take you through the correct upholstery process, which starts with jute webbing on the back. First, going straight up and down, and then across. Now you will notice that I am not stretching nor weaving the jute webbing. Since this isn't holding the weight of someone's tuchus, no need to exert more work than is required. Then, once all the jute webbing is attached, it's time for the second layer of this 4-layer process. Yes, there is actually 4 layers, y'all, which the second layer is backing. And the usual backing I use is cardboard backing. However, due to the curvature of the 70s sofa's outside back, I am going to opt to use leftover vinyl instead that I have from another upholstery job. Why? Because of the vinyl's great give, it will be able to be perfectly maneuvered and manipulated around the curves of this funky outside back. Yep, us upholsterers can be manipulated, you know what I mean. And since I am going to be gluing Dacron directly to the backing, I am going to use the back side of the vinyl for the backing, as the pretty part of the vinyl is actually adhered to its own backing. So we want the glue to go onto the strongest part of the vinyl, which is the vinyl's backing's backing. Wait, that's too many backings. But you get what I'm saying. To attach the backing, like most steps in upholstery, you want to start in the middle. But because of the vinyl's give and the build of the sofa's structure, I personally know I can start in the middle-ish and still be okay. But if you're a DIYer, always start in the middle to avoid upholstery heartbreak, headache. So as you can see by this footage, I tack at the side top, stretch it, then staple the middle-ish top, then stretch the vinyl to the far end and staple. Next, going down to the bottom and tack in the middle bottom of that particular tack down top section. From there, go to the bottom middle and work your way to each side, being very mindful that the vinyl backing is staying nice and tight. Just watch how I work my way around the outside back of the sofa with this vinyl backing. There is a method to this madness, I promise. And sometimes seeing is the best way to learn. For example, I am a good upholsterer because I learned by doing this since I was a little girl. You just keep working your way around the sofa's back, slowly pulling, manipulating the vinyl around the sofa's curvature, stapling and tacking as you go along, making sure to not get too ahead of yourself in your upholstery game. Most of the times I make mistakes in my trade because I start doing stuff out of order in an attempt to get ahead. Slow and steady is best in upholstery. Halting when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Taking your time is in your best interest. Now the moment y'all color lovers have been waiting for, the great reveal on the outside back's pattern upholstery fabric. But first, I just want to take a moment to remind y'all how many of you were dead against me recovering this 1970s circular sofa beauty. Y'all thought I was insane. But what you couldn't see was how bad she was tattered. How bad she was stained. She needed some tender loving care, and who better to give it to her than your born decades too late color loving queen. You know how I love to transform furniture and interiors from drab to fab, and this might just be my best project example yet, especially with this spoonflower Peter Max-esque velvet fabric I chose for his outside back. Who the heck is Peter Max? Well, if you are seriously asking that question, you are a color lover who has been sadly missing out. You know that cartoon illustration of the Yellow Submarine? The most popular of his works, or I guess I should say, the work that people most know but don't know it's actually his artistry, is probably the Beatles' Yellow Submarine album cover. Oh yeah, the Beatles album cover? That's Peter Max? Yes, that is Peter Max. And he's one iconic pop artist I have yet to represent in our whimsical home. So imagine my delight when I ran across this spoonflower Peter Max-esque velvet fabric on their site. I actually squealed in designer's delight. I will be honest that I was a bit nervous that this astronomical print wouldn't look as good printed onto a velvet. But hot dang, Spoonflower is legit, y'all. Yes, I have used them for years for my Homebird Upholstery's branded dust cover fabric, but I had no idea they could produce such a lush velvet print. You've definitely got a repeat customer for life, Spoonflower. But enough about my latest upholstery crush. Let's get to attaching this outside back. The outside back can make or break your upholstered beauty. So my perfectionist anxiety goes full throttle whenever I get to this step. And I've been doing this for years, y'all. To get started, we will set ourselves up for success by pinning this Peter Mac-esque velvet gently into place. Pretty side out. You're doing this so you can fully understand how the outside back will lay and stretch. Once everything is pinned in place, use chalk to outline where you will be creating the outside back's top edge with staples and cardboard strip. Next, once your edge line is traced out, unpin the velvet fabric and flip it over, making sure to mark where the middle of the sofa and the fabric will meet. Then, starting at that middle, use a cardboard strip to start stapling in place. Constantly checking to make sure you are meeting your chalk line with the piping's edge. When the outside back is all attached, flip it over to examine your work and decide whether or not you're good to go on the dacron, which is technically the third layer. So it goes first layer, second layer, then staple on the fourth layer, and last but not least, spray glue the third layer under the fourth layer before stapling it in place. I told you there was a lot of info and we're not even done yet. After the dacron is glued in place, start tacking down the outside back's velvet to the outside bottom of the sofa. And then just like the final boxing, you do all of this again for the arm portion of each side of the sofa. Which then brings us to tack strips, which is a task I used to hate and avoid at all costs. I actually used to try and coerce my mentor into doing that part of my upholstery jobs for me, but he wouldn't have it and made me do it anyway. Eric knew what was best for me. To use a tack strip, you leave about 1/2 of an inch of extra dacron and about 1 inch of fabric towards the ends of the outside back for your tack strips. You cut the tack strip to the desired length, wrap it in its protective plastic coating, and then start slowly piercing the tack through the fabric towards you. Once all the tacks are through the velvet, you slowly turn it and start slightly tapping it into place with a mallet wrapped in the exact same fabric as the outside back, which helps with texture bruising and discoloration in the fabric. It's a good tip. And let me be the first to tell you that tack strips are the devil. And I'm pretty sure distant cousins told Murphy's Law because they can be a real bee, even after years of using them. So please, please, please give yourself grace when you start playing with these awful tack strips. All right, so now that we've got the final boxing done, the outside back attached, and the tack strips hammered into place, we've got one last round of piping in the fiercest color of them all, red. And here is where one of my design plans got nicked. You see, I originally wanted to do red bullion fringe along the bottom of the sofa. But once I got the red welting on and hung the red fringe up to it, I physically cringed. The reds did not match, and my design gut screamed yes to fringe, but no to the red. Thus, I have ordered black bullion fringe that is, of course, not here yet. So please accept this almost complete That 70s Sofa reveal. It's hard to believe I started working on her 6, 7, 8 months ago. Isn't she a beauty? You agree? Please smash that like button, y'all. This sofa turned out even better than what I saw in my mind's eye. And she doesn't even got her fringe yet. But while we wait on the fringe, I do have a holiday surprise for y'all. A surprise project that I'm starting on tomorrow. Stay tuned. Revealing that right before Christmas next week. Yepers, that's some fast turnaround time, color lovers. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Laters!